And the water had been muddied, and the statistician was drawn into a debate that was, so you will always be in that space where the priest, the high priest, the judges, and everybody will say, you scientists, this science of yours, no. Must always say, yet it moves. So, what is this global indicator framework? And what are they? Well, we've got some knowledge. And you know what we are. I mean, we have knowledge. You don't have a complete knowledge. In fact, the value of science is in it, as Kuhn will say, is in the paradigm shifts, in the contradictions of science. And that's what makes science. What is true today may not be true tomorrow. And that's how science develops. And those are paradigms. So, tier 1 are the indicators where we say we have methods, we have data collected, we are certain about this. And we can give you tier 2, where we have some data is available, the standards are clear, methods developed, but not all countries cover those. And tier 3 is there's no data, there's nothing, we are explorator. So having done all that work, we found that we can only measure 156 of the 230 indicators that we have committed to for the SDGs. So progressively we'll have to find out how we measure this. And a lot of those are in the spaces that you as scientists work. So, and there's goal 5, 11, 12, 14 that are most affected. So we've in December, in March this year, we adopted at the UN NSC these indicators, United Nations Statistics Commission, which I chaired in 2008 and 2009, and of course for having been the longest serving head of statistics office and having been a chair of the United Nations Statistics Commission, they gave me the honor to address them in the UN Assembly about what statistics at its 70th anniversary, the United Nations Statistics Commission has achieved and what are the challenges. It was a very interesting and nice moment to realize that by chance I could be that. What's the SSA role? I'll move faster now what our role is. I've spoken about it. We have a Statistics Act. So now, how do you regulate science? It's a very interesting thing. I mean, you have to have an act because this thing exists within a political environment. And because it is purposeful. That is, the statistics are purposeful. They are not like blue sky research. They are purposeful. They measure something, and once you measure something, it tends to create and generate a particular desire to be achieved. And because it is purposeful, you need to regulate it and separate it from interests. So you have to separate the production of science from administrative and political interest. So that's why we have an act regulated. And then we have something called the Statistics Council, which provides a buffer between politics and this. But that is not enough, Where do we have a professional independence without administrative independence? Politicians know how to do this. They just squeeze a bit of money out of this paper. Call this person and ask him about a few things. Maybe they will. I mean, my friend in Greece now, Andreas Georgiou. We are in not Singapore, but a similar one, Hong Kong, for the International Statistics Institute. And we are sitting there talking about his plight. He was recruited from MIT to come and head the Greek Statistics Office in order to get it on track. First thing what he finds is that the Greeks have been underestimating, and probably deliberately so, the government deficit. he revised this and said, well, this is your deficit. Of course, it was from 12% or 9%, was it 12% to 15%, and that 3 percentage point difference is quite massive. So suddenly it creates chaos in Greece, and then the European Union demands more transparency, and Giorgio does his work based on the Greek statistics law as well as European Code of Conduct in the practice of statistics. So 2012 they take him to court and say, you are not patriotic. And look at our suffering here and everything. 2 days ago, he has been, now when we are at the ISI in Morocco, in Marrakesh, we are presenting on the independence of this statistics office. And we are sharing a platform with him. One of the things that he was confronting on the 31st of July was to go to court on that case. He lost the case. He got 2 years suspended sentence. 2 years imprisonment suspended. Now, he's got another case where they have said he defamed, so he has to pay some euros to somebody in Greece who was a member of his staff. Now he's still waiting for another case which is libel, which is a life sentence. Now, all the evidence we have, American Statistical Association, the International Statistics Institute, myself here in South Africa, and all others have written to the Hellenic office to say, please, hands off Giorgio. That's how dangerous this is. And he says, yet it moves. So now, you see, so we've done this work, coordination. In South Africa, we haven't had that, but it can happen. Once it happens elsewhere, it can happen. We have a law that protects the statistician, but it's not strong enough. We looked at the SDGs and the MDGs and the SDGs. I think I don't need to go through that. I need to rush to what progress to date has been. Measurement has to take place at different levels through different disciplines and in fact in an interlocking fashion. And one of the things that I was telling my colleagues, because we are arguing that these indicators are too many, and I said, no, there's not anything too many. If you think about what your body does every day and what needs to be measured from in the body, it's thousands of things, if not millions of things, that are far away from the reach of your eye or any instrument. But there's thousands of things, and they cannot be. But the body manages to measure itself and get measured because you follow an architecture. You have a design. Now, if you look at the numerals and you get overwhelmed by that, then you don't have an architecture that shows that there is something that comes that you should measure, and then underneath there are so many things, but it's all interrelated. And that's how your availability here in different disciplines, you'll find that you are measuring basically the same thing for prosperity, planet, and people. So there are 3 things, indicators that come to the top that about prosperity, planet, and people. And by planet we mean animals, all those things and so on. Maybe next time we'll allow the snakes to come into our houses in the hope that they will not bite us. It'll still kill them because they'll kill you. So we've looked at the SDGs more from a bottom-up approach compared to the MDGs, which was top-down, and it was criticized for that. SDGs have been bottom-up, but how far can you consult? It's not always very clear how far and how long you can consult. But through the use of science, you can bring consensus, you can bring people together around a table to discuss and express themselves. And of course, there has been training that has been going on, and consultation with government, and consultation with the working groups, and only indicators of tier 1 and 2. You remember I talked about the 3 tier, that the 3rd tier, we don't know anything about that one. So the 3rd tier indicators, Malana loses his coin. or rather Mulana is seen by a friend, and Mulana is walking around, and the friend asks him, Mulana, what's the problem? Mulana says, man, I have a serious problem, I lost my coin. So he says, the friend asks him, where did you lose it? He says, I don't know. So he says, why are you looking there? He says, that's where the light, that is where there is light. So if you don't know it, it doesn't exist. So Mulana is looking for this coin where there is light. So SDG 1 and SDG 2, that's where there is light. SDG 3, you don't know it. But of course, this whole process of collating indicators has to be driven by integrity, by accuracy, relevance, and so on. And in South Stats SA, we have the Statistician General runs what is called a South African Statistics Quality Assessment Framework, SASCA. And then, of course, the data is accessed, computations are done, we watch the quality, we look at validation processes, and we look at sources of information, etc. And then, of course, we have this baseline report that we are dealing with. We presented it at the National Coordinating Committee. I said it looks fine. We are sensitizing people now as we move towards the final report and presenting this to Cabinet as I publish it to the rest of society tomorrow. And then this final report will be presented at the UN. So these are the agreed standards, and the 156 of the proposed 230 will be covered. And therefore that gives us about 63%. That's a baseline report. We cover 98 of the 156 indicators. And we have domesticated the indicators for them to be relevant to South Africa. And of course, there is the issue of data availability. We have just shown that. And moving forward, this is how we will be reporting in September at UNGA. In the internal processes of domestication of indicators continue. And 2017, the sector working groups will again meet to look at alternative sources and drafting the report that has continued and in October there will be broad dissemination of the report, focusing on leaving no one behind. So whatever I said, I think I've said that South Africa is at a very difficult situation, and because of difficulties, people, whenever they see anecdotes, it will be heartwarming, and they'll think that the general situation. And we should, at all times, avoid generalizing on anecdotes and use anecdotes for purposes of saying this is what can be done, it's achievable. And if it can be achieved by those girls, those young ladies there, we must know that it can be achieved by every girl child in South Africa, and that's what we must strive for, to make sure it is achieved. And ensure that you don't leave my boys behind. That's very, very important. Two, we need to understand what the role of indicators are, and ensure that they are used. But the role of scientists becomes much more critical now. The role of data and the gadgets that we use in collation of data are increasingly going to leave us behind. And we have to ensure that that doesn't happen. More importantly, with the gadgets that we have and everything that we have, we are going to see that what we would call the collusion of technocracy, data, and money coming together with technology to undermine a democratic process. That's the biggest danger that we face as the world. That free choice is very, very critical. And these systems must be in support of that free choice. That enhances humanity's livelihood. If we don't do that, these four things will collude, and autocracy by those forces will occur. And probably I'll be at the top as the statistician in that technocracy. We need to defend the gains of democracy so that these things are in the service of the democratic project. And this is how we'll report up to 2030. This is how, from the integrated development programs, the provincial growth development programs, the MTSF, the National Development Plan, and to the SDGs, there we go. From local, very difficult, complex system here. And when we spray some politics in it, it gets more exciting at the local, at the and so on. And the killings that occur with it, that go with it, lives that get lost in the IDP, in the course of trying to dignify the planet, people, and achieve prosperity for all of them. Thank you very much.